The hour of 5 o'clock having arrived, I'd like to call to order the special meeting for the Vallecitos Water District. And if you wouldn't mind checking your phone, put them on mute or turn them off, we'd appreciate it very much. I have to read the broadcast of the meeting. Members of the public may watch the meeting live via computer or smart device by going to the district website at www.vwd.org/meeting and clicking on Watch Live. Members of the public attending the meeting via the Zoom video conferencing platform can express their desire to offer public comment or provide input on an agenda item at the appropriate time by utilizing the raise hand function. If you're listening to the meeting, members of the public may listen to the meeting live on their phones by dialing 888-788-0099 toll free or 877-853-5247 toll free. When prompted, enter the meeting ID and password displayed on the dispatch website. Persons who have dialed into the meeting and would like to make a comment can enter 9 on their phone and will be identified by their phone number when it's their turn to speak. I'd like to now have the Pledge of Allegiance led by our good friend, Kurt Gallagher.
Please stand, ready, begin. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please. Oh, I thought we were not doing this.
You gotta press down here. Should be a touch screen on the
And appears everybody's here. Very good. And we are all here in person for those that may be watching or listening. Additions to the agenda? Do we have any? None. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Very good. Do we have any public comment? Very good. Action item number 1.1, appoint to fill the vacancy Division 4 board seat. Manager Prue?
Thank you, President Hernandez. So I'll give a brief overview of what we're going to do today, and then we'll get down to business. So due to Mike Sinella's recent election to the San Marcos City Council, Vallecitos currently has a vacancy in the Division 4 seat. And election law gives agencies an opportunity to fill that vacancy by either an appointment or a special election. And at our board meeting back on December 14th, this board elected to go through an appointment process. And at that meeting, the board selected today, January 11th, as the meeting date to make said appointment. Staff did advertise the opening by posting a notice of vacancy in several locations, both virtually and physically. The notice provided this date and time and indicated interested candidates must live within the Division 4 boundaries, and we did include a map to show what those boundaries are, and they needed to submit a letter of interest by 4:30 p.m. on Monday, January 9th. Staff did receive 5 letters of interest by the deadline, and we did receive 1 letter 1 hour after the deadline. So before we move forward with the rest of the meeting, I'd like to ask the board if you're supportive of allowing that candidate that submitted late the opportunity to continue in the process. I don't know if that candidate is here today. I do not see. I did have correspondence with the candidate, explained the process, explained that the board would have to make a decision whether they can move forward or not. I think the person understood that, but I don't see them in attendance.
I would take anybody's comment, but my comment is that the deadline was set and everyone that had an opportunity made it, and if you didn't make it, you missed the bus. Anybody have a different opinion? Very good. Then
Only if it came from Hawaii and they're 3 hours back.
Yes, right.
There could be a time frame thing if he was out of town and sent it from a different time zone.
Well, there's any number of
Give
ways.
some leniency there.
Very good. All right. Continue?
Okay, so I'm going to assume that we're just limited to the 5 candidates that submitted by the deadline.
Yes.
So now that we know the field of candidates, I'd like to talk about tonight's process for the benefit of the board and for the members of the public. And the first thing I'd like to point out is that unlike some elections, this appointment will not be decided by the candidate who receives the most votes in a single election. In order to be appointed, a candidate must receive yes votes from a majority of the board, and that means at least 3 yes votes must be received for that candidate. And in order to to be considered, a motion and a second are required from the board for a particular candidate. And hopefully that'll be a little clearer later. And the appointment will be decided when a candidate receives yes votes from the majority of the board. And again, that requires 3 or more votes. So 2 votes is not enough to be appointed. So before we get to that process, we will need to hear from the candidates. So I'm going to direct the next comments I have to the candidates, if that's okay to the board. I don't mean to be rude, but I will be turning a little bit. So candidates, you will not need to fill out a speaker slip today since this item pertains to you. Normally, if you wanted to speak at a meeting, you'd have to fill out a speaker slip. You do not have to do so today. The board will be hearing from each of you one at a time without the other candidates in the boardroom. Members of the public may remain in the boardroom, but we will be asking all the candidates except one at a time to wait in the lobby. And we will ask you to move to the lobby at the appropriate time, and now is not the appropriate time. We'll let you know. So we'll bring you in one at a time, and you'll each will stand at the podium right there, and that's where you'll address the board. We have randomly assigned an order for the candidates, and before we escort you to the lobby, I'll let you know what that order is, if that's okay with the board. Staff, Ann and I went through an exercise to make sure it was random. So we'll let you know so you'll have generally some idea, right, of when you'll be up. And when called upon, you'll have 15 minutes with the board, all right? And the board, for your knowledge, I did send an email to all the candidates to kind of outlay this, but I just want the record to reflect what we'll be doing. So that time will include any comments that you want to make and time for the board to ask questions of you and you to make your response. Keep in mind that the board has been provided with the letter that you sent in, so they've read that already. There's no need for you to reread that. If you choose to, that's okay, but remember, that's eating up any time that the board may choose to ask questions. So be mindful of the time in your answers. And when your time is up, Ann, over there, Ann, raise your hand, please. So Ann will escort you back to the lobby and bring in the next candidate. And this process will be repeated until all of the candidates have had an opportunity to address the board. The board may take time between candidates to discuss the candidate they just heard from, or they may wait until they've heard from all the candidates. So if there's a little delay, if you're on deck and the candidate before you is escorted out to the lobby and you're not brought in immediately, that's probably because the board is having some discussion about the candidate they just heard from. So bear with us, and we'll try to keep you informed of which direction the board wants to go in that process. After all the candidates have had an opportunity to address the board, we will ask for all candidates to wait in the lobby. Any of you who brought family members or friends, they can remain in the boardroom, but all the candidates will be out there. That allows the board to deliberate more freely, I believe. It's hard to tell how long that process will take. The deliberation process could take a while. Any of you who watched the U.S. House of Representatives selection of the Speaker of the House kind of know what to expect tonight, right? Hopefully it won't take that long, and it won't take as long as it did back in 1856 when it took 133 votes to get there, but we'll be quicker than that. And I assume their deliberation will consist mostly of discussing the merits of the candidates, maybe making some preliminary rankings, and potentially going through a series of motions, seconds, and voting to find a successful candidate, but hopefully eventually the board will make an appointment tonight. And when they do so, we will bring all the candidates back in the room. President Hernandez will make the announcement of who was selected. The appointed candidate will then be administered the oath of office by myself and asked to sign the oath form, and that will be the conclusion of the meeting. The successful candidate will attend their first official meeting next week on Wednesday, January 18th. And we'll probably do a ceremonial oath giving at that meeting, so if anybody wants to come in with family and take pictures, that'd be fine. So like I said, we did have randomly assigned an order for the candidates to appear before the board. And before I read that order, I'll pause and see if there's any questions from the board or from the candidates about the process alone.
Yes.
I'd like to propose that we not discuss immediately after each candidate, because it seems to me the purpose of that is when we go into our semi-closed session. I would like to propose that. I'm not comfortable discussing with members of the public present if we are going to make more deliberations behind closed doors. So I think we need to do it either or, have it completely open or have it behind closed doors.
Yeah, so I don't think there's a closed door portion of any of this. So whenever you do your discussion of a candidate, members of the public can be here.
I
The
misunderstood.
the
Okay,
candidates will not, but for example, family members, if they choose to, they can remain in here. And for that matter, after the meeting, people can go back and watch the video, right? So it'll be known what comments are made. There's not an ability to go into a closed session portion.
Yes, Director.
Yeah, so I'm wondering procedurally, if there's 5 motions made and 5 votes taken on the 5 candidates, and we don't get a majority on any of them, do we keep making motions?
Yeah, I'll turn that over to our attorney.
Yes, it sort of depends. If no vote is successful, so for example, if there's a motion made on a single candidate and it does not pass, then the board can make a new motion and can sort of continue on. If we reach a point in the evening where it might be clear that the board has worked to a point where that we need to recess to another day or something along those lines, we can talk about that at that point. But ultimately, it will take 3 affirmative votes on a motion to appoint a candidate for that candidate to be appointed.
Okay, thank you.
It is my understanding, however, that if we cannot come to a consensus on an appointment, we either then need to spend the $200,000 on a special election, or it goes to the county supervisors? Is that
That's
correct?
correct. So the district board has until February 11th, which is 60 days after the vacancy was created, to either appoint someone or to call a special election. If it doesn't make that, take either of those actions within the 60 days, then it gets turned over to the county, which has a 30-day period for the county board of supervisors to either make an appointment or for the county to order the district to call an election.
All right, thank you.
Okay, no further questions from the board or from the candidates? Okay. So maybe let me just read the order that we came up with. So coincidentally enough, the one that was first up is the person who is not going to be allowed to continue. So I'll read them in order now. So Mr. Gaby, then AJ Van Deven, Jennifer Kirschbaum, Ira Schechtel, and Eric Grosset. I'm sorry if I butchered any of your names, but that's the order you'll be called in. And again, remember, it's going to be about 15 minutes per candidate. And then, so you can kind of do your mental math. If for some reason you wanted to go to your car, just let us know and we'll find a way to let you know it's your turn up. Okay? So with that, Ann, if you can maybe escort them, all the candidates, out to the lobby, including Mr. Gaby, and let's let the board have a little bit of discussion before we bring in the first candidate. All right, just a few comments, then we'll bring in the first candidate. So in front of you, you do have a list of suggested questions. Feel free to pull from that list, or you have your own questions, that's fine. And again, we're trying to keep it to 15 minutes. We will have the time, a countdown timer displayed on the screens, on the screen in front of you, and for the speaker's benefit. Clearly, if someone's in the middle of answering a question and the time expires, we'll let them finish. If a board member, if 15 minutes expires and a particular board member didn't get a chance to ask a question, just use the 15 minutes as a guideline, but we're trying to move the process along, right? We have 5 candidates, so just the 15 minutes alone is an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So just wanted to throw that out there. So I guess I'll ask, and to Director Boyd Hodgson's point, I was going to ask this question at this point, do you want to have discussions after each candidate or wait until after all the candidates have been heard before you start having your discussions? And I'll turn that over to you, President.
I prefer to wait.
Wait,
It's fine, waiting.
wait.
I'm fine waiting.
I'm fine waiting as well. So wait
Okay.
till they're all done.
Okay.
Then Nate, go back to the lobby and we have our full discussion, make our decision
All right.
and bring them in.
So as soon as Ann brings one out, she's gonna immediately just bring the next one back in?
Yes.
We'll keep it
Perfect.
moving? Okay,
Perfect.
good deal, Ann, that's clear. Okay, I think that's all I had, so.
All right.
If you're ready,
Ready or not, here we
Ann, if
go.
you can bring in Mr. Gaby. And again, as he comes in, they're gonna start out, we'll start the 15 minutes as soon as they're left at the podium.
All right,
They'll be given an opportunity to make a presentation, whatever they want it to be, for as however long as it is. And then President Hernandez, I'll let you handle the, which director is gonna be asking questions.
okay.
I'd shake all of your hands, but we only have 15 minutes, so.
That's right. And Mr. Gaby, we're gonna start a 15-minute timer as soon as Anthony's ready. And it should be displayed in front of you and on the board, so go ahead.
All right. Yeah, Robin Gaby, and I've been a resident of San Marcos for, since 1990. Taught school at San Marcos High School, and before that I taught in North Dakota and Montana, and then wound up here because my wife wanted to go to school at San Diego State. So my experience in education helps me understand what water distribution and water conservation is all about. I was happy to see that the garden is doing well out there, and some of my kids helped with that back in when Lisa helped put it in. So a couple of my students worked long hours with that project, and it's looking great, looking really good. So with that, any questions?
Questions?
We should have decided on a process.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I have a question.
Yes, by all means.
So why do you want to serve on the board?
Um,
What's your desires there?
I know, being retired, I'm enjoying that a lot, but it's a worthwhile cause, I feel. The Vallecitos Water District is a very, very good organization, and I just like the idea of getting involved with the distribution and conservation aspects, and also public awareness and information education that can be done. I would be proficient at that.
Thank you for being here, first of all. I appreciate your time and your interest in the position. What is something that you find noteworthy that the district has done in the past year or two that you'd like to, that's noteworthy to you or that's meaningful to you?
First of all, I'd like to compliment whoever puts a website together. They've done an excellent job, and it's very informative, and whoever does that, tell them to continue their great work. I like the agriculture, water distribution rate idea that I'd like to get involved with, and help the agriculture producers get involved in that, and make sure they're informed of what that's all about. The videos that are on the website are really good, and that's maybe one additional video that could be added perhaps to explain to the ag producers what that program's all about. I've done videos myself for the San Diego Ag in the Classroom. You can look them up. It's on SDAITC, San Diego Agriculture in the Classroom, and then click on resources. And we did that when, during the pandemic, when teachers needed virtual field trips and good resources to use in their classroom that can be distributed out.
Question?
Yeah, well, I want to also thank you for being here. I know your time is valuable. I've got a couple questions. First, what do you think are the main issues facing the water and wastewater industry today, and more particularly facing Vallecitos Water District?
I would say the reliable source of water. Right now we have plenty of it, but being able to store it and have a good reliable source at all times. I wasn't aware of the capacity that's out there right now. The Twin Oaks facility, storing 33 million gallons of water, I believe, and the second one storing closer to 50 million gallons of water. I was amazed at that capacity. So that's most important. Continuing to, oh, by the way, tell Ed Pedrazi I don't want to join his crew in cleaning that out when they do that, so. The other aspect is to not only a reliable source, but make sure it's quality. And I was reading the quality report out in the lobby, and that's key to inform the public that how good a job that Vallecitos does. And then the wastewater aspect of it, I see that that's being collected and used more and more by golf courses and landscaping. That's important. And when, a while back when I toured the Encina water treatment facility, actually picked up some of their fertilizer to use in our ag program at San Marcos High School. When I toured that facility, I was very impressed with what they do and how the person who gave us a tour drank the water at the last station, at the last spot. So that was amazing with what they're doing. So continuing to, that's only going to get better, and that's important.
Thank you.
I have a question. Tell me how you go about building consensus over an issue.
That's a good question. In my classroom, we taught debate and parliamentary procedure and the importance of trying to influence and convince others how to vote on an issue. In board meetings that I attended, sometimes I wish I would have had a better ability to convince everybody to come to a consensus on what we needed at the school farm at the time when it was rebuilt, San Marcos High School. So what is important? It's important to maybe do some things and collaborate with them before a meeting starts and try to get them to understand the facts and get them to do, well, not so much what you want them to do, but what the right thing is for, in this case, what the right thing is for the water rate users. So I hope that answers your question.
Very good. Any other questions? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. What would you say is your vision for the district?
All the committees that are on currently there, seems like it covers it pretty well. One that I'd like to see improvement on is the public awareness and education to the general public about what the district is all about and what the water distribution system is all about, and the importance of conservation. And the public, meaning the people that are constituents out there, but as well as we can start in the schools and educate there as well as to what water in California, the importance of it, and how the system all works, and the importance of conservation still. The other part of it is it's huge, the amount of employees, the number of employees, 150? Somewhere in there, or more?
108, 109.
108, yeah. Well, that's, it seems like they're all very satisfied, and from the ones that I know anywhere, very satisfied and productive in what they do. And it would be important to keep that morale and competence that currently are in existence.
Any other questions?
One
Yes.
last question, just mentioning committees, previous experience serving on other boards or committees?
Yeah, on the San Diego Ag in the Classroom, I'm on the committee to educate and help get programs in every school in San Diego County. So I'm currently visiting tomorrow at a couple of schools and Friday at a couple of schools, and we have a fair amount of grants, $20,000 in grants to be able to give out to whoever is selected. The other committee I'm on is San Marcos Education Foundation. I'm on that fundraising and also distributing money for those programs that teachers apply for. Another committee that I've served on is, I was on the committee for the building of the new high school and the planning of the new high school. Other community committees I'm on is, I'm on the Meals on Wheels committee. In my retirement, everybody thinks I have plenty of time to serve on all those, and there's more committees yet that people have asked for. So I'm learning to say no. But when this came up and I saw this, I was really interested.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah, one
Sure.
quick one. Yeah, from your experience, what unique perspectives do you think you could bring to this board?
I know and I worked with a lot of constituents involved with the water users, especially in the agriculture field, being affiliated with the Farm Bureau and a lot of the agriculture producers out there. I know what they're all about, how hardworking they are, and they're working their butts off to do what's right in the way of water conservation. Of course, the water rates are too high if you talk to any of them, but the rate program will be helpful, and want to help with that.
Thank you.
I have a couple more. So I serve on the Public Relations Committee, and I'm always curious, how did you know about this opening? That's good feedback for us to know. How did you find out about this?
In the Coast News, Inland
Okay.
Edition,
Okay, thank you.
they were a guest speaker at a Kiwanis meeting that I'm a part of as well on their program and scholarship committee. And so that speaker was editor-publisher of Coast News, and he pointed that out, actually. So I was glad to see it in time. I wasn't an hour late.
So this position was the director for Division 4 was elected 2 years ago. I'm wondering why you didn't run for that position at the time.
I guess I didn't know about it then, and I didn't know if I was if it was at Division 4. I don't know. I couldn't have beat out Mike. He had it nailed. So that's the reason. I guess I wasn't informed about it at that time.
I have one question, just to, perhaps to wrap this up. What do you think is more important, keeping the rates low or investing in more expensive, diversified local water supply?
Boy, that's a good question. The water supply definitely has to be sustainable. So the decision makers have to decide, is it necessary to be able to have a reliable, adequate source of water well into the future? On the consumer side, we just have to work together to get that done so that they're satisfied. As you know, agriculture is a pretty important industry in San Diego County, and we need to listen and work together with those people to get it right. I don't have a complete answer, but collaborating and working together with the groups and the decision makers involved is most important.
Very good.
I have one more question.
Okay.
And it'll take 5 seconds. When you were considering applying for this position, did you meet with any of us?
I'm sorry?
When you were considering applying for this position, did you meet with any of us?
No, I did not.
Okay, thank you.
I was tempted to, but no, I did not.
Very
The
good.
only one I knew was Glenn,
Yeah,
and I just found that out today.
and perfect timing.
All right, that's
Robert,
it.
thank you very much for your time.
And thank you as well.
Very good. You can, Ann will walk you back out to the lobby.
You just have about an hour to wait now.
Hope to sit in that empty chair over there someday.
It's all Mike's fault.
Turns out one of Rob's sons and one of my kids played on a volleyball team together at San
Ah.
Marcos High. We just figured that out today, so.
Did he yell at the refs or anything? No. Okay.
You should have asked him.
I didn't know that up, but. Good evening, board.
So my name is AJ Vandeven. You've obviously already read the little letter I wrote. Some of you may recognize my name. I ran for Mike's position about 6 years ago, ran against him, thinking, this was a good time. I had just taken over as president of my corporation, CalSense. And I was like, hey, this is great. I'm learning about water, and let's get involved in water. And I actually kind of happy I didn't win at the time, partly because I needed to learn more about water, and partly because I felt that I needed the opportunity to focus on my business at the time. Since then, I've grown quite a bit in terms of that business. We've grown substantially in the time frame. What I've also taken the opportunity to do is get more involved in other aspects of water. So I've spoken at Water Smart Innovations conference in Vegas that is held annually that the San Diego County Water Authority is a part of. I'm also I've become known as a thought leader in the water sector, not just here in San Diego County, but within parts of the state as well. Through my work at CalSense, where we manufacture smart irrigation controllers, but also beyond that. So for example, those who read the Coast News, I actually have a monthly column where I talk about sustainable practices and water conservation, things like that, to try to inspire everybody out there to be better stewards of our environment. For me, I'm 41 years old, and as a result, the environment is personal to me. So, I'm just on the cusp of being a millennial, and so the climate crisis to me is truly that, it's a crisis. And it pains me when I see sprinklers on while it's pouring like it was last week, or any sort of waste that goes on. And I've been very pleased with some of the work that Vallecitos has done over the years, and the staff has put information out to help people become aware of the critical nature of conserving water. I feel there's more that the district can do. I also believe that the district is in a position to really try to make a bigger impact within some of the larger organizations like Aqua and AWWA and some of those other organizations that are really trying to drive conservation as a whole, both within the state and the national level. So I just wanted to kind of fill in some of those gaps for you guys and give you an opportunity to ask any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Very good. Questions?
Okay, start. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time to meet with us and for your interest in the position. What is something that the district has done in the last couple of years that you find noteworthy?
I believe some of the newsletters that have come out the last few years, I think, have been very impactful. Mike knows, I went to the water program at Cal State San Marcos, and several of you guys know Tom Scaglione was part of that. And I believe that he has somewhat started some sort of campaign against Vallecitos, which has just been very disappointing to see kind of the fall from grace that I believe he had. Getting to know him through the water program, I thought that he had a little bit more clout than that. But I feel, even in spite of some of that external messaging that he has tried to instill, I feel that the board has, or the district has continued to stay above ground or above board, be transparent in what's going on within the district, and really keep people in the know. It's a very difficult position to be in, I believe. Water, and we had the water break the other day that I saw on Twitter, and trying to explain to people why it was going to take so long for this repair, when it's like, well, it's a water main, how hard can it be? And people don't really realize it, and I feel even just that social media communication over the last, I'll say maybe 18 months, has been very proactive, as opposed to perhaps in the past it was a little bit more reactive. Hey, we have a break, and hey, it's now fixed. And I feel that there's more constant communication, and probably something to do with the social media team that you have here. But the external communication has just been very strong.
Very good.
Thank you, and I'd like to thank you for being here as well, AJ, thanks. What do you think are the main issues facing the water and wastewater industries today? Maybe the perspective of California and in particular Vallecitos Water District.
I think the biggest issue is having water, seeing what's going on, and especially hearing people talk about, oh, we've got all this rain, this is fantastic. Well, it's not going to make a difference. We've got these beautiful dams up in Northern California that are, spewing it out at tens of thousands of cubic feet per second just to make room for the water that's coming in. So I think that the access to fresh water is critical. Unfortunately, that in fact impacts our wastewater as well, because then there's this double-edged sword, conserve, and then also we don't have enough outflows for the wastewater treatment, things like that. But I feel that there's still a lot of waste within the water sector, particularly at the residential and even commercial levels. Being a business owner, seeing other businesses and how little they really care or try to teach their employees about some of the challenges that face the water industry. So, really to me, I think the biggest issue within this district is making sure that we continue to have access to clean water. I believe that the desal plant in Carlsbad helps. I was very impressed that Vallecitos was proactive enough to get a direct tap into that, which none of the other districts seem to have done, which I felt was somewhat ignorant. And I know many have regretted at this point because it's cleaner water. But I think that making sure that we use the water that we have and inspire people to conserve where they can is really one of the biggest challenges facing the district today.
Well, let me ask you, do you think we can conserve our way out of drought and climate change?
First off, I will say I don't believe we're in a drought any longer. I would try to characterize it more as a aridification. It's just getting drier, and it's going to continue getting drier. I don't believe conservation at the residential level is going to make a big enough impact. I do believe that dramatic change within the agricultural sector can make a big impact. It's one of the reasons I've gotten involved in Eco-Life Conservation, which you likely read about. They develop aquaponic systems which produce the same amount of plant material in 90% less land, 90% less water, plus it produces fish, which is a high protein. And so I believe that working with farmers, both locally here as well as beyond this, to really look at leveraging agricultural technology to make a bigger difference is really where we'll make a big impact on water conservation.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And congratulations on the success of CalSense.
Thank you.
It's great to hear. Glad you had that 6 years to work on that.
Me too.
Previous boards, committees that you've served on, and whether you've enjoyed them, what you learned from them?
Absolutely. I love service. I love making a difference. My first board appointment was with my local HOA. I live in Old Creek Ranch over at the far end of San Elijo Hills. And I was on that board for almost 13 years. So, I joined it so that I could put in whatever plant material I wanted, and ended up, they suckered me in for quite a long time. Since then, I have had much more board experience. So I'm on the board for the Carlsbad Chamber of Commerce. I'm also on the board of directors for the Carlsbad Educational Foundation, which is somewhat ironic considering I don't have children within the Carlsbad School District. But I believe that they are a model for what a school district can do, particularly when it relates to STEM education and some of their pathways that they have. So trying to work to build up the Carlsbad Unified School District as a way to inspire San Marcos Unified and Encinitas Unified to, perhaps make some of those same changes. I've also done some other nonprofits. So as I mentioned, Eagle Life Conservation. Right now I'm the chairman of the board of that organization. And to me, being on boards, it's unfortunately a thankless job. You are put in a position where you need to make difficult decisions, sometimes to the detriment of, perhaps even the constituents. But the point is you're there to make a difference because you feel like it's important to make that difference. And for me, being in the position I am today, I feel that once you achieve a certain position within your career, same thing once your business achieves a certain level of success, it's almost a responsibility to give back. That involves not just pulling people up behind you, giving them opportunities to help them grow within other organizations, but also to give back to local community. The reason we are successful as a business is because of how connected we are with our local community and the difference that we can make within the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. What do you think is more important, lower water rates or the expansion of our water supply?
That's a tough question. I would say, honestly, the expansion of our water supply. I think that would be a decision that may not be viewed in the eyes of all the public as beneficial, but knowing, at some point you have to spend money in order to be able to sustain the growth that we've had. And there continues to be more growth here within San Marcos. And so I believe that somebody's going to have to pay for that one way or the other. And I think that would be a decision that could be socialized in a way that people would understand. Maybe a little bit difficult, but I believe that that's more important.
Other questions? Yes.
How did you hear about this opening?
I believe I saw it on Facebook. Somebody, I follow St. Elijo Life, and I believe they had posted it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Your business, I have some concerns because you will have, and I read your bio and you're an impressive individual. We have the opportunity to know in advance when developments are going in. We have the opportunity as board members to know who's behind those developments. My question to you, and I'm not sure what the right answer is, how do you mitigate conflicts of interest? Because you're going to be in a situation where there will be conflicts. And all of us up here, we come from different backgrounds, but none of us are here to get clients, for example. And there's always the danger of that depending on your background.
Absolutely.
So I'd like for you to talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great question and a very fair question, to be honest. Within our organization, we focus primarily on government entities. So we sell to universities, school districts, colleges, universities, municipalities, and do a lot of Caltrans work, things like that. Our current expansion plans do not involve going into, really going to HOAs or even residential market. We are focused on our core market nationwide, and we believe that we will continue to be successful. The product that we have developed for the last 37 years, is a premium product, comes with premium support, and it comes with a premium price tag. And that's something where HOAs, for example, would never want to buy our product because it's too high-end for what their basic needs are. Cities and things like that, they understand the value of a product more so than perhaps the price. So in my eyes, this role has little to no conflict of interest for me, because I could frankly care less about what builder is going in and what developments are going in from the perspective of our business. We do have a few controllers here within the city of San Marcos. We did submit to their request for proposals to get a few more controllers. I don't believe that this board is involved in those decisions at all. If there is any risk of, if the water district, for example, needs irrigation controllers, obviously I would recuse myself of any discussion revolving that. I'm definitely not here to get business. I'm here to make a difference. And I want to make a difference broader than what I believe that we do in landscape irrigation, because there's so much more to water than just landscape irrigation.
And I have a question that might just wrap this up. What about the time constraints? Sounds like your business is booming. Sounds like you're expanding. Are you going to have enough time?
Yeah. The great thing is we have, the last couple of years, have put in a very strong senior leadership team. So my goal has been to be able to focus on being the visionary, the true CEO of the business, as opposed to being hands-on in the business. So we do have several additional positions open. I am not directly involved in the hiring of those positions because we now have the senior leadership team to do that. I believe this is an important enough commitment, just like the other boards that I'm on. I will make whatever time necessary, whether that's board meetings, committee meetings, sitting down with Glenn and the rest of the staff to understand some of the unique challenges and understand, whatever's going on within the area, to make sure that I am fully aware and up to speed. You will not see any sort of time constraints from my end.
Very good. One more question?
Last question. When you were considering applying for this position, did you meet with any of us?
I did not know.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Well, that pretty well wraps it up. I think we're going to have Ann escort you out to the lobby.
Perfect. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Next up is Jennifer Kirschbaum.
Hi.
Good
Good
evening.
evening. Adjust
Get
this.
settled in there, and
Okay.
Ann will start the timer.
Okay.
15 minutes
All
for,
right, let me get situated here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Like this? Okay. Good evening, everybody, members of the board. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk about my interest in the position. I also want to thank each of you individually for your service over these years serving on the board. So first, why am I here? In short, I have the desire to give back and serve my community. In the past 5 years, I've spent thousands of hours volunteering at local schools and on appointed city and agency commissions. I believe a community is only as good as its members, and as such, I've done my best to stay continuously involved and engaged. The director position at Vallecitos excites me because I can utilize my educational and professional background to make a more significant impact on the community. I am a civil engineer by training and a registered civil engineer in the state of California. I have over 15 years of experience in design, project management, and construction management, with most of my projects intersecting with water in some way. For example, I spent several years designing water, sewer, and reclaimed mains in San Diego County, with many of my projects in San Elijo Hills, right here in Vallecitos Water District. When I was a construction manager at the Navy, I provided oversight for a $120 million wastewater treatment plant that continues to serve Camp Pendleton with the reclaimed water to this day. These technical experiences will provide the knowledge and insight required to make decisions about the same types of capital improvements that will inevitably be in front of us as a board. The experience that I bring will ensure that we can continue providing safe, reliable, and affordable water for our ratepayers. My community and service includes several leadership roles: president of Carrillo Elementary Parent-Teacher Organization, treasurer of San Elijo Middle School Parent-Teacher Organization, and appointed member of the San Marcos Climate Action Plan Implementation Group. As a committee member on the Climate Action Group, I advocated for the successful conversion to community choice aggregate energy away from traditional investor-owned utility, potentially saving up to reducing greenhouse gas emissions by up to about 30%. After the City of San Marcos voted to join Clean Energy Alliance, I was appointed as one of 2 representatives from San Marcos on the Community Advisory Committee. During my time at Clean Energy Alliance, I led the establishment of an electric vehicle subcommittee which advocates for EV infrastructure and researches state and federal grant opportunities to fund the local infrastructure. My interest and leadership in sustainable energy will serve as an asset on the board as the district continues to explore ways to reduce energy consumption and utilize renewable sources of energy. More efficient use of energy for moving water will ensure that we can continue to keep costs affordable for ratepayers. I've observed that you, as a board, seem to work collaboratively with mutual professional respect. You've been able to accomplish a lot in the past several years, including drafting a comprehensive strategic plan, keeping rates affordable, providing fiscal transparency, all while continuing to innovate and find better business practices. I am a collaborator too. While I was a supervisory general engineer for the Navy, I was responsible for over $350 million worth of construction contracts. This position required a high level of collaboration between many different stakeholders: military personnel, young Marines, government civilians, field personnel, the list goes on. Because of this past success in collaboration with complex ongoing projects, I know that I will continue to be successful when it comes to serving ratepayers. I have the educational background and experience to serve effectively as a director. Perhaps more importantly, I'm deeply committed to serving the public. I have dedicated the past 10 years to 2 things: to my family and to serving my community. I've developed relationships with so many members of the District 4 community. They are like family to me. I know their children, I've listened to their concerns and helped address them, and I've represented them in many different capacities. I'm humbly asking for your vote so I can continue to serve them. Thank you.
Very good. Questions for Jennifer?
I'll ask my standard question. What do you think are the main issues facing the water and wastewater industries today, particularly California and most particularly Vallecitos Water District?
So I think sustainability is the biggest thing facing the district. Luckily, we've had a ton of rain and snow over the past several weeks, but as the past 5-10 years have shown, the water supply just keeps getting smaller and smaller. So I think that the most pressing thing is to continue to find local supplies of water, alternate sources of water. For example, direct to potable, desalination. It's amazing that we get so much water from the desalination plant, but in my mind, that's the most pressing concern that the district is facing in the future.
Thank you.
What is something that the district has done in the last couple of years that you find noteworthy?
So just based on my interest in energy, I was very inspired to see the solar panels being installed at the Twin Oaks Valley Reservoir and also the Tesla batteries. One of the things I'm working on at Clean Energy Alliance is researching the types of grant opportunities that I think the district utilized for example, for the Tesla batteries, which I believe was through CPUC. So I'm working on a lot of those same things right now in my appointed position there. And I love to see that those grant opportunities are being utilized also here.
Thank you for being here, and congratulations on your appointment last night to the Climate
Thank you.
Commission.
Thank you. It's nice to see you there. Thank you.
Very impressive. Question on, you mentioned the wastewater treatment plant on base. Maybe some roadblocks that you had to overcome in order to get that up and functioning?
Oh, absolutely. So I was the supervisory general engineer at that time, so I wasn't the main construction manager on the project. The main construction manager on the project was a very talented wastewater engineer who had been, doing wastewater engineering his whole career. Very, very set in his ways, and sometimes a little bit difficult to communicate with. So our contractor on base was also very good and years of experience. It was a contractor called CDM. So there was a little bit of a tension between our construction manager and the contractor, to the point where we kind of ran into a stalemate with decisions being made in the field. So what I did was initiate a partnering session between the end user, the Marines, our construction manager, the contractor, several partnering sessions, actually. So really that's more of a story of trying to find the common goal for many different opinions. But we did do it. We did find our way out of that mess. And the thing is that these are all good people and they all wanted the best. And it's just, I think sometimes the communication gets in the way, especially with really technical people. But I can say that I'm good at doing that. I'm good at figuring out what people mean and what they want, and finding common solutions for something as important as a wastewater treatment plant.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you for taking the time to be here. What is your vision for the district?
I guess this probably goes back to my previous answer, and it's to continue to provide sustainable water sources for our ratepayers, to provide a service that's reliable and affordable as well. Like I said before, I think sustainability is really your core of that, because if you have a source that's sustainable, it's automatically affordable, it's reliable. So I hope that answers the question.
Very good. With all the things that are going on in your life, tell me about your time constraints to be a board member.
Well, I'm volunteering on several boards, but I'm not working full time right now. So my family takes a lot of time, but I do have time during the day to dedicate to decision making and board duties.
Okay.
Yeah, what unique perspectives do you think you could bring to this board?
A unique perspective. Like I was talking about in my speech, I think I really have a good pulse on the community, and I have relationships with them. So as this is an elected position, even though it's being appointed tonight, this is an elected position where you're representing the people. And I feel like my connection to the community is definitely a unique perspective, because I'm really invested in what my constituents want and what they need. And I think that that's the most important thing to bring to this board.
Thank you.
Let's see. Is there, as a board of director, there is a controversy on the agenda. How would you go about collaborating to build a consensus?
Okay, so I think I think with a controversy, you have to figure out what is the most important thing to each member. I mean, in any type of controversy or situation, I think that there's probably one thing in each member's mind that they're concerned about. If you can identify those and figure out how to reach some type of compromise, maybe that's a starting point. And I think it's also being respectful and listening to other people's opinions. That goes a long way. Even if you don't agree, I think if you feel like you're being heard and if you really listen to the other person and the other opinion, then that goes a long way towards bridging a gap.
Very good. Other questions? Yes.
When you were considering applying for this job, did you meet with any of us?
I did, yes. I reached out to Jim and met him for coffee, and Tiffany met you for coffee and talked on the phone. And then I emailed Jim. I tried to email your Vallecitos Water District, and it got kicked back. So then I found your campaign email, but I didn't get a hold of you. And then I met Craig for coffee as well. And then also met with Glenn for lunch. So thank you. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much. Ann will escort you out into the
Okay.
lobby.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ira will be next.
Yes.
And his letter to Vincent, is that meant for Anthony?
Yes.
Just
So we call him Vincent.
Is that your middle name?
Forever be Vincent.
That's right. That's how things get started.
It's amazing how a little thing can change everything.
Go?
Ready?
That's it, clock's running.
Okay.
All right, well, here we go. Fortunately, you put me in 15 minutes. I'm speaking about my favorite topic, me, so I could go on forever, but fortunately, the part that pertains to you is only 10 minutes, so I won't go about my whole history. I am originally born and raised in the Bronx, New York, graduated from City University of New York, Lehman College, with a Bachelor of Arts in Speech and Communication. I moved to North County in 1977 or 78, and I've been here ever since. My association with the Water District started when I first got hired at American Fence on Grand Avenue in '83. The Water District with Bernie Weaver and Gene Madison were one of my early customers. So even at the time, I was going to different spots, and their integrity and their sincerity about providing water to the area was very contagious, and I admired that. Later on, Jim, as you know, I was going to Jim 10 years ago, and Jim was just on the water board, and I said I was going to Jim 10 years ago. So anyway, I mentioned that these guys, they shave, they turn on the water, it's terrible, they're standing there, and he says, I'm going to take care of that. A week later, there were stickers in there on the mirrors, don't waste the water. So again, the board is committed to its job, which is to provide sustainable, dependable, reliable water and sewerage. And so what happens is, my experience is that I've been in the fence business for 40 years, 2 companies. Right now I'm the president of a division of fence for FenceWorks. And at American Fence, when I started, I worked my way up to national sales manager, had an opportunity, went over to FenceWorks, and I'm the president of that division. In that time, I was part of the American Fence Association, which is association. I was president of the California chapter, worked my way up, and that was a learning experience for me. When I got into fence, I liked fence. I have a thirst for knowledge, so I studied it, I learned it. I went to seminars, I tried to expand my knowledge, and it worked. And that helped me propel myself. It's just a natural desire to learn and know what I'm doing. I don't know everything, but I'm very willing to ask people. In that regard, this opening is not a mandate from the people to get rid of Mike Sinella. It's just simply an opportunity that he took. And so I feel that this position, at least for the balance of the year, is to try and fulfill Mike's position. I wouldn't have the knowledge to make any changes. I'm not looking to change the stream. Every time I've come to one of these meetings, and the Water Academy, you get an award for something or the other. I saw this room agonize for hours over a 73-cent a month raise. I mean, that's commendable. That's something I could be part of. This isn't just a board. This is really a highly regarded board, and the people honor it. And you have good direction. You've planned. In this state where water is an issue, you guys had the foresight to be prepared. And I'm not looking to change that. I'm not looking to make waves. I have to come and learn and address this before my input, well, I'd have the hubris to think my input has any value. I have a big mouth, I'll make a suggestion, but I spoke with Mike and I wanted to stay in touch with him. Because really, it's his seat. He was elected by the people. And so I would like to, now that doesn't mean I'm going to be a rubber stamp. I mean, I wouldn't do anything for anybody, immoral or illegal, but his input should be part of that chair, I think. Once I have a year experience and I think I know it all, well, it'll be less Mike and more Ira, but okay, that's just nature. I did take the Water Authority, the Academy, so I do know that you have 73 million gallons into reservoir on Twin Oak Valley Road and 380 feet of miles of pipe. And one of them was broken on San Marcos Road this week, and it affected my water. I live in Palomar Estates West, but I knew you guys were on it because I was here the month before when there was a pipe broken by the high school, and it was authorized and $11,000, and it was handled efficiently. Everything I see from these meetings is competent, is efficient, and is customer-driven. And I can be part of this board. I'm not looking for a step up. I'm not looking for recognition. I've had 40 years of experience. I'm married 40 years. My kids are happy. They're good. I'm not looking for an opportunity to make my bones. I'm here and I'm willing to help, and I'd be honored to be considered as part of this board.
Very good.
Now's the time for applause. Just to scare them out there. Here we go. Questions or?
Yeah, go ahead, Tiffany.
Sure. What is something that this board has done in the last 1 or 2 years that you find noteworthy? And thank you, by the way, for being here. We appreciate your time.
You're welcome. I'm mostly here for my benefit, but I appreciate being recognized. We've talked about increases. When I say we, it's the editorial we. But I've seen you, like I said, agonize over a 73-cent raise. I've seen conversations about the size of the pipes and the water. And what the board has done in the past 2 years, I think making sure that they have enough water for its constituents is high on the list. It might not have been this year, but that's the function. I can't specifically name something that you did, but of the things I've seen, nothing sticks in my craw that, gee, that was a little underhand. You seem to care about the people, and clearly you provide good service and reliable water and sewerage, so.
Very good.
Thanks, Ira.
You're welcome.
What unique perspective do you think you could bring to this board based on your experience?
I'm a problem solver. And it's one of my strengths at both companies. And what happens is, I worked for American Fence for 20 years. I'm still in good graces with them. I worked with Fence Works for 12 years, and they love me. My subordinates, who are my son and daughter-in-law, wanted to get rid of me so they can get raises. And the owner of the company said, look, he's got 40 years' experience. We want him. No matter if he's gone or not, doesn't affect your pay. He works for us. So I'm down to 4 days a week. I come, so my time is free. Now, what I bring is, in those years, my strong suit is sales, but it's also problem solving. Sometimes it's out of the box, sometimes it's very specific. I'm equitable, I'm fair. Even though I'm an egomaniac, my humility and my compassion for other people tempers it. I may be the boss and say we're going to go somewhere, but I'm not going to say we're going to go play poker and smoke cigars, because that's not taking charge. Someone has to take charge. I'm going to say, hey, let's go to a movie or something like that. And I'm the same person at home, in business, socializing, and here. I have no hidden personalities. I have no agenda. I'm not erratic. That's why when I do things and I like it, I embrace it, I learn, and I'm steady for 40 years.
Well, I have a question.
Okay.
We all have our favorite questions we ask all the time.
I
wanna
didn't
know
like
what-
Tiffany's. Can we-
You like yours?
I just couldn't think of anything specific.
I want to know what life was like growing up in the Bronx. No, I'm just kidding. That's not my question.
Oh, wait, come on.
You can answer that as part of this one. Experience on boards, previous experience serving on other boards,
Well,
committees, things like that.
Okay, I became a Mason in the Vista Lodge in about 1985. I don't know if anyone knows experience about Masons, but maybe your grandfathers can tell you about it. So I went through the chairs. I was master of the lodge, the Vista Lodge, 687. They're still there. I'm still a Mason. I'm not active anymore. I was on the board of the American Fence Association, which is a national association not affiliated with American Fence. Went to all the meetings, went to the seminars, taught some seminars, had forums, breakouts for sales and things like that. So I've gone to 50 of those over the past 40 years. I'm familiar, because of Masonic Lodge and because of president of the board in California, I'm familiar with Robert's Rules of Law. Not that I completely understand them, but when you first encounter them, you're like, when it was high school GO class, 9th grade. But I think, honestly, my experience in managing and teaching salespeople, one of my biggest competitors, Jason Price with American Fence, I trained him when he was a sales guy. His other sales guy who works for him, still works for him, today's his son's birthday, his 21st birthday, so he sent me a thing. So I'm in touch with people. Everyone I know, I'm friends with. If you have character and you're a quality person and I'm your friend, that's it. My word is good. I take you at your word. 2 months ago, I took a vacation up north to Santa Rosa and Humboldt. I saw friends from when I was 8 years old and when I was 14 years old. I'm still friends with them. So to me, character matters. Character matters.
Thank you, Ira.
What do you think is most important? Water rates or investing in more expensive, diversified water?
Well, I mean, which one's... Investing in diversified water sources is an analysis that can be done mathematically. How much do we spend? What's our potential to gain for it? If it doesn't work, what does it work? Just like last month. If it costs us $250,000 for an election, there might be some merit there, but maybe we could do it for less. So that would be assessed. As for the price of water, you've already been through that. It's more important to your constituents and how it affects them than how it affects you. Unless it's a necessity to keep the lights on, that's a different issue. But as for other avenues and venues to improve and expand the water, that's going to be vital. You don't have air, you're dead in a minute. You don't have water, you're dead in 3 days. That's it. Nothing else matters. So depending upon the situation, these things are volatile, and that's part of the decision-making process. Where are we going to go with it? How much will it cost us? What do we get?
Do you foresee an instance where there would be a conflict of interest with your business and serving on this board? Can you talk a little bit about that? And if you do, how do you think you could get around that or mitigate it, or what would you do?
Anyone who knows me knows that I can't be compromised. And what that means is when friends ask me to borrow money, and I can, I give them money. Because loaning someone $400 is just extending their pain. Giving them $400 is helping them out, if I can, if they take. So it's the same thing. So my integrity, if there's conflict between work and the board, my obligations, if it's a board situation, is to the board. I have obligations to work. My company does not need additional work that I can wrangle from other revenue streams, and I wouldn't do it. Now, if the board needed fence and I can make them a deal and I can say, hey, look, I'll give it to you for half price because we don't care, I would do that, but that's probably not allowed either. So I'm not about money. I'm a capitalist, but I'm not about more. I'm about enough. And that's where I am in my life. I have enough. I'm content. I get Social Security. I work 4 days a week, and I ask them to cut my pay. I'm not looking to make money or hustle or do it. So if I was in a bona fide conflict of interest, I would make it public, and I'd exclude myself from the situation if it took more than me just saying no.
Very good. Anything else? Well,
My
yep. Oh, yeah.
standard last two questions. How did you hear about the position?
I'm friends with Jim.
Okay. When you were thinking about applying for this position, did you meet with any of us?
No. I texted Mike Sinella. I probably came across Jim in the cigar shop or
Social, yeah.
something,
Okay.
but it wasn't discussed other than good luck and,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And we'll escort you back out to the lobby.
Don't play poker with me, Jim. You have the same face on every trick.
The last contestant is Eric.
Uh-huh.
Last recommendation was don't play poker with Ann, is that what you said?
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening to you all. Should I just jump in? All right,
Jump right
perfect.
in.
I'm going to read a prepared statement and then, of course, look forward to all of your great questions. And I'm so happy to be here tonight and really appreciate all of your time. So, good evening, esteemed members of the Water Board, employees of VWD, and distinguished guests. My name is Eric Grosset, and I'm a resident of VWD Division 4 in La Costa Ridge, and a registered voter, together with my wife, Tiffany, who's a realtor, and my two beautiful daughters, Emerson and Bianca, you guys give a wave, who go to La Costa and are dolphins, and they know a lot about water thanks to Glenn's wife. So appreciates the school interaction there. And so as a technology entrepreneur with a background in business and engineering, I'm well versed with finding innovative solutions to complicated problems. I've made a concentrated effort to familiarize myself with the operations of the Water Board, including reviewing your past meetings, of which are very interesting to me, and the minutes themselves, which I've noticed can be quite long in length. But what I learned most about them is that if you just kind of stick to the bullet points and you can get right to the chase, and that's what I like about the minutes. Very well put together, and so I quickly caught up to speed on what's been going on here for the past couple of months. Throughout my career, I've been honored to receive several accolades. That includes my products being featured on The Ellen Show, Good Morning America, and being privileged to speak at the White House under President Obama on the topic of entrepreneurship. So it's a real special time in my life and a real honor to be able to do that and share my entrepreneurial journey with others at the White House. In addition to my entrepreneurial background, I bring experience serving on public boards. Most recently served on the College of Business Administration Advisory Board at Cal State San Marcos, to where I'm an alumni of, and the Technical Education Advisory Board at Carlsbad High School, where I previously volunteered. My passion for understanding how things work, particularly in the realm of public utilities, drives me to seek a seat on the Vallecitos Water Board. I'm eager to work alongside the other members here and conserve our most precious resource, water. Moving it forward in a sustainable manner for everyone that keeps rates low and service levels high. I hoped that my experience in technology, my long-term vision, creative thinking, management skills can come to the board and offer a fresh perspective here and learn and grow alongside each of you. I'm committed to representing the needs to all of the voters, making positive, meaningful change for our community, and not just my division, but all divisions. I think it's critically important to represent everyone across the community. Because of my qualifications, I believe I'm uniquely positioned to offer opinions and propose ideas to the board to help leapfrog the district from a scalable technology point of view that would ultimately benefit ratepayers. And I see a lot of quick wins here, and I'm very good at working with others to drive to the point and come to easy understanding of what is possible and what is not possible, and working towards the goals that are solvable and getting there as fast as we can in government, which I understand is a somewhat slow process, but it's something that, as evidence here in this beautiful building, is achievable, and you know, in terms of my experience with the Vallecitos Water District, has been a very good one to date. Mobile applications, communication APIs, smart Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, responsive design, user interface and experience, these are all things that I've spent my career on, and I'm confident that my experience with these technologies can translate to positive change across the board here. I want to express my gratitude for the opportunity to potentially join the board and for the dedicated service that each and every one of you have provided. And I'm excited to work with you all and make a positive impact. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Very good. Questions?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Eric. Very impressive.
Thank you.
You're a young entrepreneur.
I'm 38, yeah, so.
So you are younger than you look. I mean, you're older than you look. You have a, like, I know, I think as we talked, you do have a young face, and maybe your wife keeps you young. Thank you.
She does,
Great
yes.
to bring your family here. Appreciate seeing them. No, impressive. You mentioned you served on some other boards. I'd love to know what you learned, the good, the bad, and the ugly, if you don't mind.
Sure. Two different boards that I've been on is from the public side, the Cal State San Marcos Advisory Board for the College of Business, and that was under Dean Jim Hammerly there, who's one of my mentors and one of the best deans that school has ever seen. And that experience was great. It was very agreeable across the board, and mostly keeping in touch with our community and involvement, and making sure that we were all positive stewards in keeping the community and university together and working towards common goals, which were achievable. And I think that was the most important part of the board, was finding achievable goals and not just lofty dreams, and driving towards those. And so I took away that as a good experience there. Now, on the other side of startups, I've been on several startup boards, including my own, and most of the time those are a great experience as well, but occasionally when early stage startups can have disputes around certain direction of the company, and that creates conflict. And I think one of the great things about myself is that I'm easy to get along with, and I can usually bridge the gap and find a middle ground in an argument and help people see another's perspective and understand what they're going through when they face that issue. How would you feel? And finding the empathy for both parties and mediating it and to strive towards a common outcome. And usually that's worked out very well. I can only think of one instance where a board resulted in a vote that upset one of the board members so much that they took it to another level of legal perspective. And in that instance, it was resolved through mediation, which was another great experience, actually. I found the mediator to be very good, grounded, common sense. It was a retired judge and helped all parties resolve from the board's representation as well as the upset party. So everyone found a common ground and ended up shaking hands and leaving. So from both a public side and private side, I found good experience in being on boards, and it's something I enjoy personally.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you for being here and for your time and sharing with us. What is something that the district has done over the last 1 or 2 years that you find noteworthy? Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So in recently reviewing the budget, I noticed that the budget had steeply increased. And I found that the report itself was very easy to digest and carefully explained the reasons for the change or upcoming change in water prices and how they weren't necessarily the fault of the district itself, but rather the costs that are being increased and passed along. It was conveyed in a very fair manner, but I had to search that out personally, so I'm not sure I've ever seen that in the bill. But one thing I did see in the bill that was really good was the credit that had come recently. And so I felt like you all did a wonderful job of conveying that credit to the customer and making them aware that they were being credited and the reasons behind it. And that was a good feeling. And you don't really see that from a utility very often, getting a credit. I know SDG&E does it once a year for their, in particular, but from a water board, I was blown away. So thank you all for doing that, and I believe that's a recent achievement. During recent years, they all kind of blend together, but it feels like that was just last year, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Eric, for being here. What do you think are the main issues facing us today in the water and wastewater industries?
Well, I understand that the desal plant has a large price tag coming along with it here soon that will come to bear ultimately to the ratepayers. And that will be a challenge for, again, conveying that eventual price increase, I assume, as well as maybe finding creative solutions to help offset that. And from here locally, I think there's a lot of technological gaps that can be filled in terms of, as I mentioned, mobile applications. Like, there's no reason why you shouldn't be getting a push notification last week saying, hey, you should, if you have your sprinklers set, you should turn them off because we're going to be facing rain. And if not, ready for a mobile application, which can be expensive and oftentimes gets neglected if people aren't fully dedicated to it, then as simple as a text messaging service, of which I've worked with all of them, and I'm pretty good at cutting through and figuring out proposals for technology, which ones are actually going to work for the need that it's set out for, and which ones are just salespeople bluffing a little bit to work their way into your organization. And I think, from a technological point of view, all the way down to, and I think I discussed this with Tiffany at least, was simplifying the bill even further and making it easier to understand for ratepayers as well, and coming across to them exactly why you're paying how much for each individual tier. I know tiers can be complicated for ratepayers, so maybe perhaps renaming them to conservation, excess, over excess, and I've seen, you know, a couple different water districts doing a little bit of better job with that, and I think so that's an easy win in my point of view, depending on which software you're doing and how you can rearrange it. But things like that are observations that I think I can quickly help drive towards quick wins for the district here.
Thank you. I have one. What do you think is more important, keeping the rates low or investing in more expensive water supplies?
Well, given I have kids, it's investing in future water supplies, and so that's what I would say for that.
Very good. Other questions?
So it says here that you found out about the position from the website, is that correct?
Facebook, yes.
Facebook, okay,
Yeah.
great, thank you. When you were considering applying for this position, you already mentioned that we chatted. Who else did you meet with?
With Director Pennick here and Director Elitharp here.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Oh, and Glenn, sorry. Yep. And sorry, Jim, I meant to reach out to you, but I was running up against the clock, so.
Very good.
But I did want to make a concentrated effort to reach out and express my interest in joining the board individually with everyone here and learning more about the board more than anything. I mean, being the new person on the board, I would seek to learn from everyone and you know, better understand, get a lay of everything before being able to, you know, really affect a large amount of change. I think that the best part is to learn early on. So that would be my plan anyways.
Other questions?
I have one more. So this position came open in an election 2 years ago. Why didn't you run for the position at that time?
I was unaware of it, and I think we were busy with COVID, but had I been aware of it, I potentially would have.
Very good. Anything else? All right, Ann will escort you back out to the
Thank you.
lobby. And
Thanks.
then we're going to have deliberation, so it might be a little bit before you hear what's going on.
3-4 minutes.
That was exciting and informative.
President Hernandez, I've got some thoughts, not
Oh,
on the
good.
candidates themselves, but the process moving forward, so maybe to help you. So you've heard from all the candidates, so that's a good thing, right? And I think there's a couple of ways to proceed. Regardless of the path, at the end of the day, a candidate needs to receive a majority of votes, right? But there's a couple ways to get there. One is to go straight there, right? We could just start nominating candidates and we could do votes. That's one way to do it. Another is to start involved in a really robust conversation about what you heard and debate or whatever process you want to go through. And a third way is to maybe try to develop a short list. So right now we have 5 candidates, but it's possible if the board wanted to, you can go through a process where you can maybe place I'll give you an example. You can each cast a vote for 2 people, 2 candidates. We'll add up the votes and tell you, did it sort itself out? And then you're only looking at that, I'll call it the short list. Now, once you get to the short list, you still have to go through the process with the short list only of nominating, seconding, and voting, and they still have to get the majority. But it may help reduce the amount of conversation. So with that, I'll turn it over to the board, but keep in mind it does require 3 votes to
Right.
get somebody.
Well, I do like the idea of a short list, because I certainly think there were candidates that, in my opinion, would not make the cut. But again, that's up to us. We can do that, we can have a full debate, do a short list later, call for a vote right now, whatever you like.
I mean, we can do that, but I'm impressed with all of them, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, don't take this the wrong way, board members, but the 5 of us could sit down, 4 and a half of us, and have those 5 sit in our seats, and I think the district would be well represented.
Yes.
So that's hard to shortlist that, to me. But I think that shortlist, if it doesn't work out, then it could just be one thing that, that shortlist didn't work because I have a feeling, I don't know if we're gonna be able to get 2 out of 5.
Maybe we won't be able to.
So we can go through that process and see, but I don't know, it's hard to make a short list out of 5 amazing individuals, to be honest.
Tiffany, your thoughts?
So I'd like to compliment the staff for advertising this position, because one of the things that we talked about when the position came open was that we were going to advertise it widely so that we could get a pool of applicants that are highly qualified, and I think that we have them, and I am also impressed with the candidates. I think they all bring different skill sets to the table. I do think that there are a few that are more qualified to my mind, but there are others that bring, different other skills to the table. I'm hesitant to commit to a short list because I don't want, if Craig picks 2 people, if Director Elithar picks 2 people and nobody else agrees on those 2 people, then I don't want necessarily those 2 people to fall out from the discussion. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. This is a public meeting. This is a public job interview. I think that we are all capable of being respectful as we discuss the pros and cons of each candidate and what they bring to the table. I favor that approach as opposed to a short list. I know that that's not the most expeditious probably, but I think they all bring different things. And I think that when they go back and they watch this video, if they are not selected, then they can still learn what we saw that was valuable in them. And I think that that would be good for the district.
Well, then, yes, I agree. And
It's tough.
I mean, really, they're all great candidates. Perhaps there's a couple that are better than the others for a particular, maybe a technical side, but as you had said, they bring other skill sets. Let's just open it for discussion and see where we roll.
Where to start?
Yeah, just to weigh in on the short list versus not, I think I'm tending more toward what Director Boyd Hodgson said, that there's some really great candidates that bring different perspectives, so. I'd hate to, although I have 2 or 3 that to me stand out above the others, I'm willing to consider all of them, so I tend not to do the short list process.
Okay.
I'll start because there's a division for me. There is a dividing line, and I specifically asked if the folks met with any of us because I wanted to know. To me, that shows initiative, and it shows interest, and it shows that they thought a long time about this process, and it wasn't kind of a last-minute decision to throw their hat in the ring. And I particularly appreciate that they spoke with you, General Manager Proem, because you were able to provide valuable information to them that they might not have gotten from talking to us or talking to their friends or talking to former board members. So to me, that's my starting point. That's important to me. And to me, that elevates a couple of the candidates in my mind.
Jim?
Well, let's just start in, I guess. Likewise, I appreciate that, and I did meet with 2 of the candidates, Jennifer and Eric. What I like to look at is, I look at this board, and again, I hope I don't offend, but we got 3 old dudes and a young lady. Speaking about individuals, I like Eric in his youthfulness. He's got a different perspective. There is some youthfulness there. He can bring a perspective that we might not have. When we talk about Twitter and different naming of this and that, we're like, yeah, we're okay with it. But I like that perspective to kind of fill out a board, to bring a little bit of diversity. So that's when I'm thinking about a different board member. It would be a little bit of, a little different perspective. And I like the perspective he brings. I like some of that. So maybe this will speed some things up just talking about one individual. But I like that perspective. I like others as well, but that might be a starting point for us to discuss.
Mm-hmm. Again, we need 5 seats. Just have those people show up.
Mm-hmm.
You know I have a relationship with Iris, so I know him well. I know his abilities. He's worked well in the community. He would make an excellent candidate. I don't think he brings some of the technical skills that AJ or a Jennifer bring, but I think he'd make an excellent board member.
Okay, well, I mentioned before, I had a couple candidates, at least two, that kind of head and shoulders above the others. And one was Eric Grosset, and the other one was Jennifer Kirschbaum. I agree with Director Pennick. Eric brings that really strong entrepreneurial spirit that I think would be a great asset to this board. On the other hand, Jennifer has some great technical experience as a civil engineer and some of the project management issues she's been through. I think that's great. Speaking personally, that's great experience. I've been through a lot of that pain and heartache, but I really appreciate that too. So those two candidates stand out for me.
President Hernandez, if I could maybe chime in just to help the process
Yeah.
along. So just a reminder, and I'm not advocating in any way, but I just want to inform the board of the process. If a board member makes a motion for a particular candidate and that gets a second, and you take a vote and they get 3 votes, we're done, right? There's no more, there's no subsequent motions or anything like that. So I just want to make sure the board understands that if a motion is made for a candidate and the vote's there, the process is done. No other candidate gets a chance to see if they also get 3 votes.
Right,
So
right.
I just want to make sure that process is clear.
Very good.
And just also, I want to make sure that there will be an understanding that when a motion is made to appoint, it'll include approval of the resolution appointing the candidate, just for the
Thank
record.
you.
Right.
Oh, I'm prepared to make a motion if people are willing to entertain it, if you're willing to entertain it, Mr.
Jump.
President. I would like to move that we appoint Jennifer Kirschbaum to the vacancy in Division 4.
Well, I'll second that for purposes of bringing it to a vote.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of having Jennifer become the appointed board member, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. I would make a motion to appoint Ira Chattel to the board.
Again, go ahead.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of Ira becoming a board member, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Very good.
And part of that is because what was brought up, I'd like to discuss a little bit more. I mean, there is a short list there, but I'd love, like, if somebody received 3 votes, we have time to discuss more. I mean, I do like Jennifer. I agree with what Director Ellis said. I like both Eric and Jennifer.
Well,
Experience on board that's why I asked that question a lot. And it seemed like most of them did have experience on board. I do like the answer that Eric provided. He had some kind of a high, a low, and a learned. And he learned from that, and I just think, and I don't have, I mean, none of them are my friends. I don't know any of them, to be honest. I met with 2 of them, and like you said, I'm glad I did meet with 2 of them. I think it was their initiative that they reached out to me. More of a, I'm going to say middle of the road, should I say, perspective, entrepreneurial spirit, but more middle of the road as far as I want to learn, I want to go. I don't have any skin in the game as far as, I don't know how else to say this, but the political side, as far as which way goes there or here. It's just like, hey, I'm going to look at this thing objectively, not on a political view. And it seemed like Eric just had that on my side, the objective view on the political side, yet the entrepreneurial, youthful attitude on the other side. So with that, if we want to move forward, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Eric Grosset as a member.
I'll second that. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Point of
Up,
order, Mr.
up. Yes, ma'am.
So the way that we could go about this is the motion and the second, and then the discussion, and then the vote. So we could have a period of discussion following the second. That's typically the way
Yep,
Robert's rules works.
that's absolutely right.
So if we wanted to do
Let's have a
that.
discussion before we have a vote. We have a motion and a second.
Could,
Is there any discussion on the motion?
sorry, just a point of order. Since we do have a member of the public who's attending remotely, could we do that when a vote is taken, could we do it as a roll call vote verbally, going each member by member? And just to let the member of the public know, the two prior votes have failed for lack of 3 votes. Just to
Okay.
make sure it's easy for them to understand.
Thank you.
And so, should we go through it again, the motion and just?
No, that
Okay.
part's fine.
All right,
Just in
very
terms of
good.
the final vote.
So we have a motion and a second, now we're having discussion. Discussion?
I liked Eric as well. I think that he does bring some experience to the table that differs from other experience that we have. I'm concerned about his time commitments, because he is busy. And I did like that he had an objective way to evaluate, and he seems very practical, which, resonates with me. I am concerned about his time commitment. That's what I'll say about Mr. Grosset.
Any further discussion? Then we have a motion and a second. All in favor of having Eric,
I'll read out the vote, sir.
I'm sorry?
I'll read the motion and the vote.
Yep.
Oh, okay, thank you very much.
Okay. On the motion of Director Pennick, seconded by President Hernandez, to appoint Eric Grosset as Division 4 Board Director. Director Pennick, how do you vote?
Aye.
Director Boyd Hodgson?
Nay.
President Hernandez?
Yes.
Director Elithar?
Aye.
Motion passes with 3 votes yes, 1 vote no.
Wait, what was wasn't 4-0?
No, it was 3-1. Director
Oh, okay.
Boyd Hodgson dissenting.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Very good, thank you very much. All right. I think we'll bring them back in.
Yeah, so I think the next step, we would bring them all back in. President Hernandez, I assume you would be the one that would deliver the news.
Yes.
And don't forget at the end, and feel free to say anything you want to the candidates.
Yep.
But before we can adjourn the meeting, we do want to swear in Mr. Grosset and have him sign the
Yes.
oath of office. So.
All right.
Man, that's hard. I do like that.
Yeah,
It was a quality problem.
quality candidates. I'm glad I didn't have to run. Are we ready, Anthony? Yes. Well, thank you all very much for coming and applying for this position. This was tough. This was tough. I'm glad I'm not out there applying because I wouldn't make the cut. But we did go through a round of votings, and I'm happy to report that Eric Gossett, you are our appointed new board member. And do we want to do this now, Glenn? The swearing in?
Yeah, I think we should.
Okay.
So, Mr. Grosset, if we can have you come down. I'll ask you to raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Eric Grosset,
I, Eric Grosset,
solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
the duties of which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all as well. Thank you.
Very good.
And we do need you to sign a form before you leave. Anne's up printing it up
Yeah.
right now, so if you can just stick around for a few minutes. And
All righty. Looking for the agenda, where am I at?
Thank you all.
Thank you all very, very much. I think that was the end of the action items,
that is it, yeah.
and I think we are adjourned. We gotta wait for Ann to, I gotta sign a resolution?
You can sign it.
Yeah.
Well, you can sign it after it's adjourned, right? Yeah, that's no problem. Yeah, you can sign it all then, yeah.
Later?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
tonight, but we're adjourned.
Okay, we're adjourned.